country is Kenya.
Hi everyone, my team would like to share with you our findings on the Republic of Kenya. So in Swahili, Jamhuri ya Kenya means the Republic of Kenya. Here you have the flag of Kenya and on the right, the coat of arms of Kenya. The capital city of Kenya is Nairobi, and the total inhabitants of Kenya counts for around 50 million inhabitants. The national language of Kenya is Swahili, but English is also the second official language of Kenya. And then we have the currency of Kenya, which is the Kenyan shilling. The total area of Kenya accounts for 580,367 square kilometers. It is the 48th largest country, right in front of France. Kenya is bordered by 5 countries: Ethiopia, South Sudan, Somalia, Tanzania, Uganda, as well as the Indian Ocean and the Victoria Lake. The most important feature of Kenya would be the highlands of Kenya. It contains one of the most successful agricultural area in Africa and also the second highest mountain in Africa, called the Mount Kenya. So the climate in Kenya is pretty diverse, ranging from hot tropical to rainforest climate. But the problem Kenya is facing right now is a problem with water due to the climate change as well, whether it is due to flood because of the rainfall or drought because of no rainfall. The most important sector of harvest and agriculture, and the people would suffer the most.
We have over 120 ethnic groups. The largest native ethnic groups are the Kikuyu, but also Maasai, Somalis, and Kenyan Arabs. English and the Swahili are the 2 official languages. They serve as the main language between the various ethnic groups. Also, English is widely spoken in commerce, schooling, and government. Over 78% of the population aged 15 and over can read and write.
During the pre-colonial period, there were 3 main ethnic groups, namely the Bantu, Nilotics, and Cushites. The earliest being the Cushites, which was followed by the Nilotics, and later Bantu arrived. That was mainly the farmers, and that also had different dialects. The most known dialect from that time was the Swahili, and it existed from Persian, Arabian traders and their immigrants. And in the 18th century, the Wanga kingdom was established with one centralized leader, and he was called Nabongo. The biggest religion would be Christianity. That was also followed by Islam, and it was brought to Kenya by the merchants. The second part will be the colonialism of Kenya, and in 1888, the British East African Company, they first put up a flag on Kenya, leading to colonizing of Kenya. By the time the company ended the operations, the government of Great Britain decided to forcefully claim land, and so that the Brits could get a better way towards Uganda, Buganda, and Bunyoro, and they now both present Uganda. With the colonization, the Brits introduced forced labor, and natives all became under the authority of the British settlers. And in 1913, a bill was passed, and the bill allowed white British settlers to lease land for 999 years, which obviously resulted in monopoly. And then the independency of Kenya followed. In the beginning of the battle for the independency, it started with the Mau Rebellion in 1952. It was a group mostly of Kikuyu people, which was an ethnic group in Kenya. And they were usually situated in the highlands of Kenya, and the main reason of the existence of Mau Rebellion was to attack the white settlers, to fight against them, as well as the colonial leaders, as you can also see in the picture right above. As the attacks went on, it became such a problem that the government had decided to declare the state of emergency, and the government arrested countless of Kenyan leaders, as well as killed a lot of innocent protesters and people that lived in Kenya. According to the Kenya Human Rights Commission, 90,000 people were killed and 160,000 people were tortured and imprisoned. In 1957, the colonial leaders allowed native Kenyan leaders to make a part of the Legislative Council. Within a few years, the number of native Africans in the parliament were growing. After that, in 1961, KNU, the Kenya African National Union, were able to achieve most of the places they got power in the parliament as they reached more and more seats. In 1963, Jomo Kenyatta became the first Black president of Kenya, and by that he also ended the colonization of Kenya. Kenya became the present Republic of Kenya. In 1978, after the president passed away in his office, the vice president Daniel Arap Moi retained the presidency and became the second president of Kenya. And in 2002, he rebuilt the multi-party system in Kenya, which is also still the main present political system of Kenya.
Education occupies a central place in the social and the political landscape in Kenya. Kenya made it accessible to all, and especially to the poorest, with the introduction of free education, both primary and secondary schools. Kenya dedicates 30% of its budget and 6% of GDP to education. Kenya's Vision 2030 aims to make Kenya an industrialized nation that is competitive and prosperous. Science, technology, and innovation have been identified as key drivers of this vision by setting a target of training 10,000 more engineers by 2030. They actually recognize the urgent need to establish an effective network of research centers, universities, and think tanks to tap into new global knowledge and, of course, to adapt it to local needs. Kenyans are overwhelmingly employed in the informal sector, where incomes are low and jobs are precarious jobs. Women are also underrepresented in the decision making, including in most elected positions. Decision making at the senior management and board levels is still dominated by men. However, the greatest progress has been in the judiciary, where the proportion of female judges reached 50% in 2019.
Having an understanding of culture is immensely important for business. Therefore, today I will be talking more about the Kenyan culture, the business etiquette, etc. Based on Hofstede dimensions, as we can see here, Kenya has a masculine, collectivist, and hierarchical society, meaning they are driven by competition and being the best. Status and position is highly regarded and respected. And last but not least, goals and needs are determined by the group, and selflessness is emphasized. Relationships and interconnections is very important. Communication is very important. The Kenyans have an indirect communication style, meaning that being frank and confrontations are avoided to keep the harmony. Humor and laughter is often used in the conversations to light it up. The amount depends on the type of relationship. As in many indirect communicating countries, criticism is given sensitively, indirectly, and in private. The Kenyans do not have any consideration for personal space. Physical contact is usually kept to a minimum unless it is with friends or family, definitely not with elders or superiors. Direct eye contact is usually practiced to show sincerity and interest in the conversation, but again, not with elders or superiors, as it is lower. Eye contact is lowered to show respect. Pointing is not done with the index finger, and beckoning is usually done with a wave of all the fingers or by making a disc sound to gain one's attention. Business etiquette. Meetings in Kenya are usually set 2 weeks in advance, with a confirmation sent out 3 days before the meeting. It is okay for the meeting to start out later, as Kenyans have a very much relaxed look on time. Greetings are done usually with a handshake, with the superiors being greeted first and asking about how are they doing, how is their family doing, and how is the business. Respect is very important to the Kenyans, and thus everybody is listened to and expected to contribute to the meeting. Attire in Kenya is very business formal in business, and thus a suit with a tie for men and a suit with a skirt below the knee for women. Negotiations are not that difficult in Kenya. It is of utter importance to have diplomacy with new relationships. Other than that, it's not recommended to show your emotions, as it will make the negotiations more difficult. It is also best to leave the price for last and discuss other characteristics of the business deal. Also, keeping your mind open for other options is always helpful and can help with the deal go way a lot faster. Taking the time is very important in deals with Kenyan's business partners, as their relationships is more important to them, and therefore deadlines is normal to not be adhered to. Knowing the basics of the law can definitely help you with your negotiations with your Kenyan business partners. Other than that, calmness is absolutely crucial in negotiations, as aggressiveness and can be considered very impolite and frowned upon and can jeopardize the whole deal. Kenya's government is currently doing its best to attract investors from all around the world, with the ease of doing business of only 56% and being fourth easiest country in Africa. It has a high GDP, a high GNI, and a large educated workforce, which is very attractive for the foreign investors. It also has a very strategic location. The government's vision is a newly industrialized country with a middle income.
Now, when it comes to business, there is a nice saying. If you have the right vision and then you take the right steps, then success is inevitable. When it comes to conducting business in Kenya, it's important to consider 5 different aspects. Starting directly with the market overview, Kenya plays an important role in the whole region of East Africa. The country's economy has now continuous growth and inflation under control. Kenya is a member of East African Community and African Continental Free Trade Area. Meanwhile, it can also be seen the impact of COVID-19, which is hurting one of the main sectors of country, tourism. The focus of government under Vision 2030 is in food security, affordable housing and healthcare and manufacturing. There are plenty of reasons to invest in Kenya. The main one are, as mentioned before, it has a good growth and it is a logistic hub of the region, good established market sector and a great workforce with potential. Meanwhile, the main opportunities are through private-public partnerships in infrastructure, agriculture, energy, technology and healthcare. When it comes to ease of doing business, Kenya has improved its ranking and by the latest report was ranked 56 out of 190 countries. Biggest improvements are in starting a business, dealing with construction permits and getting electricity. Also, to mention, Kenya is ranked first globally when it comes to protecting minority investors. At the subnational level, the latest report, which was on 2016, it's best to start a business in Uasin Gishu. The market entry strategy is quite straightforward. It's crucial to understand the market, visit the country, find a good local partner, and try to follow different online events, seminars, webinars, and so on. A local incorporated company in Kenya can take 3 forms: limited by shares, limited by guarantee, and unlimited. Meanwhile, setting up a company differs through the region when it comes to cost and time, but procedures are almost the same. Costs could vary from 140 to 330 euros and the time as fast from 7 days up to 102 days. It is also possible to register a branch for companies incorporated outside Kenya. The last aspect, which I consider quite important, is also knowing the market challenges. There have been massive improvements, but still some challenges remain. Corruption and COVID-19 are the 2 main issues. They are causing a butterfly effect on macroeconomic situations with rising unemployment and poverty, which causes lower public spending, followed by lower government spending and increasing debt to GDP ratio. Continuing with infrastructure, here I consider the overview of transport infrastructure with the current ongoing investments and a brief view on the 4 main types of infrastructure in the country. Currently in Kenya, there are massive ongoing investments with a value over 20 billion, which include the creation of Silicon City, Lamu Corridor and Port, and so on. The outstanding road network is made of 180,000 kilometers of classified and unclassified roads. In the country exist 5 main airports. When it comes to the sea, the biggest port in the region is also found in Kenya, which also serves to the neighboring countries. Last but not least, the rail network is made up of almost 3,000 kilometers of narrow gauge.
Thank you for your attention. I hope you had a big idea of Kenya and its business opportunities. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact us.